Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Oh, here's Denise, and oh, this is the lady who is connected with Washington Island.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Mike is a regular here. He's
I
probably-
know, I see him all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
But I
my
never
opinion,
met him.
he's one of the most experienced genealogy researchers.
Well, that's good to
Good.
know.
That is good to know.
I've been doing this for about 65 years or more.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll
you'll learn
direct all the
something, huh?
questions to you then, Mike. We'll
Specializes
direct
in,
all the questions to you.
I do direct Irish questions and military and
What else?
some Catholic Church.
Yeah.
You know all about
Yeah.
that, Diane.
And the cemeteries, finding
Yeah.
graves and all that.
Oh, good.
Are you familiar with that site?
He
Oh, yeah.
tries to get tombstones for some military people. That type, there's a number of people who do that.
You're up in Door County.
Yeah, and different
Oh, yeah,
places
this
around.
is somebody else. I don't know.
Hello,
Hi,
nice to meet you.
yeah,
Lily.
yes. But the
Okay.
I don't know if you can see me. This is actually Denise. I had to go onto the, on my iPad. So
Denise, your camera is off. If
I
you
know.
want it-
I usually don't use my, let me see.
Were you on your phone?
iPad.
Oh, I.
Oh, we got a nice
There we go.
turnout. There we
Okay.
are.
There you go.
All righty.
Well, I guess we'll get started. I'm glad to have all of you coming, and we're doing our first hybrid meeting where we have a few people here in the library and some online. So should we go around and introduce ourselves quickly, since some of us know each other, but there's a couple new people here. So Mike,
Mike Gallagher from Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin.
Mary Ellen Ramstack. Oh, Sevastopol.
Sebastian,
I'm proud of it.
Door County, both from Door County.
Yeah, Tom Weisenfeld, Door County, Sturgeon Bay.
Steve, oh, go ahead.
That's all I'd say.
Steve Osterhouse, Sturgeon Bay.
And Laura Kaikon from the library here in Sturgeon Bay, originally from
Okay.
Green Bay area.
I'm Denise Mankiewicz and I live close to Carlsville, actually.
Michelle Diamond Eliason, Charlotte, North Carolina. I remember some of you. It's been a while, but I'm back.
Yeah,
Good to
wow.
see you.
I'm Yoli Pardo. This is my first meeting to join you, and I live in the Seattle area in Manchester. It's a little town called Manchester. But I have recently discovered that I have ancestors from Washington Island in Door County. And so I'm beginning to do some research in that area.
And that's a very fascinating area. They do have an archive there. Have you heard of that at all?
I've heard of it. I have heard of it. And I'm in touch with Kathy Bennett, who actually she and her mother apparently wrote a history of Washington Island.
Mhm.
But she said it's been a long time. Her mom has passed away since then, and she feels it needs to be revised. But she has told me about that is my connection, and we have a genetic match there. And so I've been in touch with her, and she has told me about the archives and the vault that's there apparently. And so my dream is to someday come and have access to that, but I don't think it's, I don't know, I don't know anything else about it. I don't know how to contact people there or anything like that, or if they do any research for you there remotely or not.
I did mention, I think, to you that Facebook page. Are you on Facebook at all?
Yes,
Because-
the Washington Island history page,
Yeah, yes.
I'm a member on there, on that group. And I do check that every day. It's great. They check into stuff. Unfortunately, they don't go back far enough for me, which is where my problem has been, because that family, while that was the McDonald family,
Mhm.
and they were a very large family with a number of members who came directly from Ireland. They still have McDonald's living there. But my ancestor is it's just an unusual story in my book. And I don't want to bore you with it, but at any rate, the head of the family there, Patrick MacDonald, came from Ireland in the mid 1800s, settled there on Washington Island. He had a fishing business and farming. And he became incarcerated in about 1868, somewhere in there, 1867, 68, unfortunately for murdering his neighbor. And the family says it was sort of like a justifiable homicide because there were incidences going on there. And at any rate, he was incarcerated, and he had lost his wife, who was the mother of about, I think, at least 3 of his children. He had lost his wife earlier, and about 1864. This murder occurred in 1866 or 67, I believe. And he remarried. He remarried a woman named Bridget. I don't have her maiden name, but when he was sentenced, she had not all of the children, but most of the youngest children, and one between her and Patrick. And she took them all, sold the farm and took them. He had a life sentence, so she did not expect him to return. And she removed from the island, and that is where I lose them. And so that was, I don't know the date of the sale of the property. I still need to find that out, but just a moment. Oh, you're right in the middle of something.
Electric meter guy's here to change our meter.
Oh, no.
But
Oh, no.
you're on a UPS.
What?
I mean, if he blips it, you shouldn't go, you shouldn't
Okay.
go
I have
out.
enough battery power.
You
and
should have enough to go,
I
okay?
should, okay. We'll see.
Otherwise.
Sorry.
I'm
Anyway, so it's a very long, kind of convoluted story. What I do know is the 2 youngest children, the 2 male children, and then my great grandmother was the female child, that were taken with Bridget, off the island. We have found obituaries for the 2 male children, and they had changed their names to O'Donnell with, double L and double N's, not McDonald. So that much I do know, but their lifespan is kind of right in between any census periods. I have just a little tiny bit with little glimpses of them. So I think I'm going to have to kind of piece things together through newspaper accounts and
Yeah.
I don't know what else exactly.
Where were those
But
Donald boys buried? Where did you find them? How did you find them?
through the rest of the McDonald family, they also have their own private group, Facebook group.
Yes.
And so after I joined them, they
Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
they got to in the middle of trying to figure out, what might have happened. And one, I think one was, I'm not that familiar with the towns right there. It could have been Sturgeon Bay, where one of them was had their services.
Do you have a tree on Ancestry or anywhere else?
The McDonald family does.
Mm.
I do not. I am on Ancestry. I just have not put a
Maybe.
tree up there.
I see.
Do you have it on family?
Pardon?
You have it on Family Search? Your tree?
No, I don't have a tree posted anywhere.
Right, you might want to compare what tree you have. You don't have to put it out
Well,
there.
she
but I think
doesn't
you can
have it. The
compare
relatives have it.
Oh, the
apparently.
relatives have it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have access.
Is it, yeah, there she goes.
Uh-oh, there she goes.
Electrical.
I found you could do it without putting a tree out there. You can just match up your records to,
That's what I do, because I don't have a tree on it either.
I don't want it on theirs. You know,
No.
and
No,
On which one, the family search?
family search.
Yeah.
I have it on Ancestry, but
I
not.
don't have it on anything.
That's just so I can share it with my family.
I
and
know.
you can make it private.
I keep
Yeah.
thinking I'm gonna.
Yeah,
do
I
it.
agree with
Well,
that.
there's a can then.
Family
Family
search, you
search.
can't make it private, so you're kind of,
Yeah. Right
Right.
now, I'm just.
but it's nice
my
to
own
match up your
files.
records with what they have to see if they're even.
Well,
close.
that's what I do. I'll
Yeah.
look at family trees just to see if something.
And
pops
Mike,
up.
you said you researched this family? Unfortunately, she's
Years
not.
ago, yeah, I think I can, I'll just have to redig some records out again.
Well, now you've heard a little bit. I
Yeah,
hope
we
she'll come
lost her.
back.
Do
Yeah.
you do, then you kind of search around for other families in the area?
Especially Irish. This is an Irish family, so
Oh, I see.
Mike is 100%.
His eyes
Irish.
lit up, huh?
I'm 100% Irish. so-
I'm a
We
quarter.
have our condolences. No, my wife thought she was, but we found out through
She
DNA.
wasn't.
She wasn't. Well, maybe,
But
but.
see, we have a new person that signed in.
Yeah, is that,
Charlene?
I can't quite see what her name is.
K something or other.
Something.
Charlene, maybe?
That's my email. My actual name is Charlene.
Okay.
Charlene.
Oh, okay.
All right.
K
Charlene.
is my last name, is the initial of my last name.
Uh,
Okay.
nice to have you join us.
Thank you.
Are,
Then I retired and moved to Bay to live with my sister
She has bad connection.
to where? Where did you move?
here. Bay.
Oh,
Green Bay.
Sturgeon Bay or Green Bay, did you say?
Sturgeon Bay. Sturgeon Bay.
You're here in Sturgeon Bay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you joined us. Come in the
Great.
library sometime.
I will do that. Yes.
Yeah. We do have Ancestry here on the library network that you can use also. So if she comes back in, we can go further, but this is kind of an interesting story with the man who was convicted of murder in jail for 30 years. So now
I wonder if she's done our archives.
the newspapers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, when she emailed me, I sent her back the obituary for this Patrick McDonald and then an article. There was a fairly good article on when he was released and the whole background
Oh,
of that.
okay.
But I just spent a little time and got that, sometimes people reach out and then I, send a little bit back. But now she's joined us, so we know a little more about it.
Yeah,
So I guess.
they may have wanted to change their name just not to be associated with McDonald and maybe.
Sounds
that-
like it, yeah.
It's happened a lot.
That happens a
Happened in
lot.
our families. They've seen
And then
it.
on his tombstone, he just had the word Pat. He didn't have the, remember?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they
Oh,
didn't put the last.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Tombstone on.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah.
yeah. It's funny, we're talking about that, but I found Lindsay is the last name of one of my out in Baltimore area. And I was going through Find a Grave and I was just checking all those Lindsays in various cemeteries and so on. Anyway, there were 3 that all had the same death date. 3 different names of boys, Albert and I don't remember right now, but anyway, all. And I thought, well, this is
An
peculiar.
accident or something?
Then yes, so I did further research. It turned out there were 3 little boys. Again, I don't know, 2 and 4 and 5 or something like that, children. I found, and it was a relative who was the father, but he was at work and the mother was at home with the little ones and she needed a cup of sugar. Ran next door
Oh, dear.
just momentarily to get it.
Right.
Came back, the kids were playing, somebody bumped on the stove and get to that fire, they all died. It was just so tragic.
Yeah.
And but that was maybe the worst tragedy I found so
Yeah.
far in my family, but just goes to show you, take your eyes off the kids for just a little bit.
Well, I've had that, but you were talking about the tombstones. We
Yeah.
have one on my wife's side. Her grandmother,
Do you all hear us?
her
over
grandmother
there?
had 2 sets of twins, we found out. We only knew about 1 set of twins. And when I asked a couple of the elderly aunts about it, I thought they were gonna shoot me.
Oh,
You don't talk about it. There are no birth records. I found it through census reports that somebody probably shouldn't have,
yeah.
wasn't supposed to have said what they said. I found it in two different places. The kids died very young.
Sure.
There are no graves. There are no record of the death.
What do you think
Nothing.
they did with the children?
I'm assuming they buried them someplace.
Like in the backyard
Out
or
in the
something?
farm.
Or whatever?
If, I don't know what time period you're talking about.
This would have been the 19 teens, maybe 19.
Yeah, if you look at that book
20s.
by James Caird and Al Quinlan on pioneer cemeteries in Door County, I think I remember in that book, they had a whole thing about children and
Yeah.
Are you-
early death
Are these relatives in Door County you're talking?
No, no, they were up in Superior.
and what happened
Yeah.
when they, you know.
Actually, I don't know where the kids were at. I don't, they may have been born over in Duluth
Yeah.
even, but
Welcome back.
I think they moved them out into the woods or something, but it was really strange that there was just absolutely, and I asked several people and I thought they were gonna slap me for asking.
Well, that's
They
what
wouldn't tell you
happened.
why they were.
Oh, God, there's no twins.
We
I
don't,
said, yes, there were.
Yeah.
I said there were no twins.
But
Yeah.
it must have been
Yeah,
illegitimate.
that's-
then.
yeah.
I
think that's
found,
what,
Yeah,
well,
I
they were
think-
married, but it may have been
Yeah.
playing around
Somebody else,
outside, you know,
yeah, playing
but there
around,
was
yeah.
one
and
in
they
my,
died early.
on my
Yeah.
father's family, maybe late 1890s, early 1900s. Eva, we've all heard, we all know there was a child named Eva. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And she must have died as a child. But that's family lore. Can't find a doggone thing on her to prove she existed. Did find her sister, who ended up in an institution for what am I, a fifth, trying to think of the.
Epilepsy.
Yes, thank you. Just
Yeah.
left my mind. We did find her, but they would talk about, she existed, but they didn't.
It was all hush hush. There
Oh.
was another one, another relative died in the same family.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Probably in their early 20s, I'm gonna guess. I can't remember. I could probably dig it all up. Couldn't find any records and finally I found something somewhere showed up, a report of their death and why they died from a doctor's office,
mhm.
syphilis.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
see, there you
Yeah,
go.
We'll talk about that.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, it's just really weird back. Nowadays, it's not as big a deal, but still not a topic of conversation.
Well, no, by the way, my Uncle Joe.
And Yoli, Mike over here, Mike Gallagher, who's, he's
That's Mike.
Irish and he does a lot of Irish
Oh,
research.
good. Oh,
And
good.
he's looked into your family in the past,
Well, this is probably 20 years ago. I ran across.
but
Mike
he
Tom.
maybe he'll be able to help dig something out. What specifically are you looking for?
Well, at this point, I'm looking for the wife, Bridget, and
What,
and
where she was.
living with these children because she had with her John McDonald and who later was John O'Donnell. May McDonald, that's my great grandmother.
MAE?
Well, we spelled it with an E, but I see it in records. I see it both MAY or MAE, and sometimes Mary, and sometimes Mary A. I don't have any idea what the A would stand for,
Yeah.
but
I'm looking
and then
for-
she also had Morris, who was her son with Patrick. And then there was a fourth girl, another girl named Emma or Emily. And she, I believe, was the infant, and it might have been at birth that her mother died, the mother of these children, except for Morris. It may be that Emily's birth caused her mother's death or shortly after or something, but Emily, I'm guessing as the infant, went to live with Dennis and Mary Mason, Dennis McDonald, Mary Mason. And I know there's a lot written about them, but they raised her from infancy. And
Mhm.
she lived with them and never married. And so I don't have anything on her after she became an adult. And, I have a little tiny bit of May working in Marinette. And that is where she actually meets her husband to be. But what happened for years, decades, it took me decades just to find, and it happened, just somebody else found it for me. But we were at Salt Lake City, and on microfilm, we found the marriage certificate of May McDonald and Arthur Russell. And everything about it was misinformation that I was using to try to find her and never could.
I think
She
that-
said her name was May McDonald. She said that she was born in 1868, but I believe she was born in the wedding, yeah, 1868, but I believe she was born in 1863. She
You say
said
the-
that her mother was Mary Mason and that her father was Morris McDonald. That was her little baby brother. And there were no witnesses other than the clergy's family. Pardon me. And then the next time they turn up is in Oregon, where they moved to Portland, Oregon. And the rest I know of Portland, Oregon. So that was all I was going on until until I was contacted by Kathy Bennett.
Mhm.
And then she said they were unaware that Patrick had a family. The rest of Patrick's story, if Laura didn't fill you in, is he was eventually pardoned, and
Yeah.
after 30 years, and went to live with one of his nieces, one of Dennis McDonald's daughters, not the one that was his own daughter, but one of, and the account says that they brought him home because he was quite elderly, in his 80s, and didn't have long to live, and et cetera, and that he should be with family, and he lived to be 102.
Yeah. 102.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, if
So-
you find anything, we'll let you know.
Some of those McDonald's are buried at Bayside here. I couldn't figure out why they came all the way down to Sturgeon Bay to be buried.
Yeah, now you kind of know, right?
I
It
think
could
there-
be, depending
name.
on their names, especially Bridget.
There's a name, I think, just in my mind, I think there's a name of the mother would, or somebody, Sanford. Is that name in her McDonald family anywhere? Sanford?
Not to my knowledge, and I have a pretty good idea of most of the names, but it could be in
Well, I'll check. it out.
earlier, more recent generations. Now Michael McDonald was part of this same family. He was Patrick's oldest son. He was a county clerk for Door County at some time, which I don't have those dates. And he may have worked for the Advocate or one of the newspapers there as well. He and his family also left the island, I think. And there was a James. Also, there were three brothers who came from Ireland. Patrick was the eldest. And then Dennis and James. I think Dennis was the youngest. And then they had a sister named Catherine, who married a few times, but she also came over here married. Patrick was already married and had Michael when he arrived. Dennis, I think, married here. He married Mary Mason. She was from Waukegan. So I know some things, but there's a big gap. And mostly now I just try to get as much information about how life was or what things were like on that island in those days, early days, when she would have been a child. And my great-grandmother, actually, she had one daughter, and she wound up alone with the daughter, and she lived with her daughter Hazel through her marriage until she died in 1949. And so she was there when Hazel raised all three of her children, They all lived in the same house. None of those children, who included my dad, could tell me much about her because she was so private.
Mhm.
And I never could figure out if she was, it seemed to me that she was hiding something. But when I said that to Kathy Bennett, she said, it may be that she just never knew the real true story.
The murder.
Yeah, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Because by the time he was exonerated and she had already left she had left the
Mhm.
Midwest and moved west. And I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. And I don't know if there was any communication with the rest of the family. I just don't know any of that, and not sure that I ever will know. But I'm
Yeah.
just trying to fill in the story. If she was hiding things, I get it. I understand that. But if she just didn't know,
Okay.
then, that colors things in a little different direction too.
Yeah.
Well, if you find anything, we'll let you know, Mike. I think Mike has some ideas.
We'll
He can
check-
look some things up.
Check Charles Martin's 1881 history, to see
Yeah.
what they say about those people on Washington Island.
Yeah.
There'll be a paragraph there about.
I have your email, so if we find
Yes, if
anything.
you can share that with Mike, if you would.
Yeah.
And then
Sure.
Mike, you can directly email me. I'm happy to,
Laura will give me probably your email or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Okay, we'll
you.
do that
That's great.
sometime.
May I also, oh, sorry, go ahead, finish up.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, may I also add to Mike's list since he's here? Some of you may remember that I am the descendant of Thomas Diamond, and I have a big reveal, big exciting news to share. If there is a share screen, Laura, I could show a picture of my discovery in Door County, but if there isn't, that's fine, then I'll just tell you.
Do you know how to do it?
Yeah, Diamond was way up. He was up in Sister Bay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
So I finally made it there last fall. From Charlotte, North Carolina. Is it okay now, Laura?
I think you should be able to share your
Okay,
screen
let me
now.
try. Yep. All right.
Yeah,
And I went to the Sister Bay Marina and stumbled on this huge sign in the park. I was so excited. The top line says, the community of Sister Bay was born in 1870 when the firm of Henderson, Kuhn, and Diamond built a pier, sawmill, grist mill, hotel, and 2 stores. So
Wow.
as you can imagine, I was thrilled. So I did want to thank everybody in the group. Laura, Dave, and Karen with the Liberty Grove Historical Society have really been helpful. And every once in a while on Facebook, they'll find something on him. So we'll keep looking. So you were saying, Mike, you knew something of him?
I was into the diamond tree years ago.
Yeah.
Some of his relatives are buried some other place, not near here. Well,
Yes.
I'll dig that up. a
Yes,
little bit.
it was Sauk, somewhere in Sauk County or something, but when,
I couldn't-
when
they
his
were all
mother,
in near Madison, when he was up here,
yes, it was something like Bear Creek or something, but yeah, interestingly enough, because he was, oh shoot, now I can't remember, a Goodyear agent for a while with the boats. When his mother died, she was shipped by boat to Sturgeon Bay, and she's the only one buried there. And I thought, oh, well, why would that be? Well, the father from Sturgeon Bay would come up and conduct mass in the Diamond's house because he was kind of like the unofficial mayor. I forget, there's a term for that, kind of like the emergency response and all of that. So the Catholic masses were held there by this same father. So I think they wanted her buried in the Sturgeon Bay cemetery. But then you're right, when the brother moved, Thomas moved a little bit near Wausau for a while and maybe one other place, and his brother in the lumbering business also moved, and then so that Diamond, yes, is buried with Patrick outside of Madison, like you said. Yep. Oh, good. See, somebody knew of him. He's around there. I found so many articles, so many more articles, through Laura's resources with the newspaper articles. So it's been really fun to keep learning.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So
So thank you all again. I was thrilled to see that sign.
Yeah, that's fun. Does anyone else have any good stories to tell us?
Gene Klansky is sitting there too.
Yeah, hi, Jean. And hi, Steve. Yeah. Well, has anyone looked at Ancestry, this new feature they have with the parents?
No.
Does anyone do that with the DNA?
You showed me it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I-
Anyone did DNA? Yeah. Because, yeah, they were splitting up the parents. And they didn't tell you which was which, but they said this parent has this ethnicity and this parent has this other ethnicity. So you can sort of get clues to things.
Oh,
Sure.
I don't have my ancestry DNA done, but we had my now 91-year-old great aunt had her
Yeah.
ancestry done, and my cousin helped her check it yesterday. And I would encourage everybody to do that because there were surprises.
Yeah, me too. Me too. What did she find?
Well, just some ethnicity that we had never known about. And also when we compared it to my cousins, it was just not what we expected either, as far as one parent for my cousin would show something like Aegean Islands. So we'd think it was her mother. And then we look at her aunt and the Aegean Islands would be on the other parent's side. You know, like it just got that diluted by the time it got to her. So there were just, and we had never heard of Aegean Islands before. So it was very interesting.
That would be Greece, but it could be anywhere down there.
Right.
What I found was I have, my mother's grandfather was from Yorkshire, England. And so I watched on Netflix, The Last Kingdom, and I kept wondering, were we Dane or Saxon, you know, because the Danes came over and conquered. And I was convinced that my brother and I both did the DNA on Ancestry, and both of us had just a tiny bit of Scandinavian history or ethnicity. So I was convinced that those were the Vikings that came over and conquered in Yorkshire. But wouldn't you know that Scandinavian for both my brother and me is on the other side of the family. So they must have been 100% English, and then just a little, both of us have a little Scottish. So we don't have any Vikings. So that really surprised me. And the fact that two of us who had completely different DNA experiences had the same results makes me believe it's probably pretty accurate. Yeah.
This is
So
what
there
you're
you
talking
go.
about. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Pretty much what I knew.
I actually had a negative experience with the
you?
ancestry DNA in the sense that about a year or so ago, I decided I was going to take a break from Ancestry.
Yeah.
So I, stopped paying the $400 a year or whatever it was. But I saved all my DNA information from Ancestry. Okay. And then, a year went by and I said, well, okay, I feel like getting back into it. So I started, Ancestry up again. Okay. Which gave me a new name and so on. And I tried to get my Ancestry DNA into that tree. They won't do it. They will not do it. Even though I called them and everything. And I said, this is a Ancestry DNA kit
Yeah.
that I got 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe whenever. And I want to add it to the Ancestry DNA that I have, or tree that I have. And they said, well, we don't allow people to upload DNA.
But you
And-
took the DNA completely out of Ancestry, because even if you don't have a Ancestry account, it stays in there and you can use it
Yeah, mine's like.
without any account. Because I have my
really?
DNA
I don't
on
have an
one,
account. I mean, I have an
The
account,
DNA?
but I don't pay for it.
right,
The DNA.
right.
Yeah, there's my DNA.
If you paid for the DNA and it's in Ancestry, you can communicate with all the people you're matched with
There's my son.
without having an account.
You'll have to show me how to do that. Because we don't do it now. We'll do it later.
Okay.
Unless, I don't know how you removed it all.
Well, maybe I
You can-
removed it the wrong way then.
You can
because-
download the, it and then upload it to other accounts. that
Yeah,
are
I
free,
did that. I uploaded it to.
But I don't know how you'd remove the whole
GED,
thing.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah,
And I didn't go to the other ones, family.
So you created a GED or GED?
Well, yeah, I did
It should
that.
Well,
be
that's the
there.
GED is
That's
is
different.
The data
the
transfer.
data,
yeah.
not the
the data.
No,
DNA.
no, I did
But-
that, but
Oh.
it doesn't have the.
But maybe your DNA is
Actual-
still there somewhere, who
Should be,
knows?
should be.
And I also managed to share, I have
Well,
my
that's a shame.
DNA initially on a
Maybe I-
non-paid
I got the
account.
wrong person with Ancestry.
And then I transferred
You get a
it
new
somehow
one. Did you get
to
a
my
username?
friend's account where she
That's the
pays.
problem.
So it's on two
You have to go
different
back to your old-
places. One that's paid so you can do more
go back to
and
your
one
old
that's not
username.
paid.
Hmm.
So you can do a lot with it.
That's the issue.
I haven't done mine yet. My
Yeah.
two nieces have.
Any experience on the
I'll do it for it.
Zoom people?
I
Yeah,
wanted to ask a question from what you said before about both sides of the family being
Yeah.
different than mothers and fathers. How do you find that out?
If you did the DNA, you go to your ancestry DNA and you look under that ethnicity part. And then you stream down and it's under the basic stuff at the top. You just keep going down and you'll see the two circles. And then what I did, the trouble is,
And it took me, the very first page popped up and said, you have, your
Yeah.
DNA has been updated. And once I
Yeah.
went in there, it's right to that, and it said, you can now look at this. So if you haven't signed in a while, it might take you right there.
yeah, it might. And I'll say this too, because my brother did it and I did it. I was comparing the two circles, all of our circles, but they color coded both of us differently. So I had to write, because it was so confusing, I wrote in all of the names. Because he'd have green for this and I had purple and that was too bad,
That'll
but
start asking
Yeah,
people
I got the feeling that, I got the feeling that the color coding seemed to indicate the biggest
think-
proportion was green or whatever
Yeah.
color, and the smaller the proportions got, they relegated to other colors. Because
Yeah.
I know mine did not go with at all with the couple of McDonald's that I was comparing with. They posted theirs for us and they were a little bit different. And the other thing it also is just the way DNA selection, it seems to be that you can, for instance, mine kept coming back with tons of Irish. And my father's side just had Irish, Welsh, Scottish, and English. My mother's side, as I like to say, sampled the world, and she was from Latin America, so we have indigenous, we have African, lots of different parts of Africa, and European, and on. All over. But interestingly, Dennis McDonald, who was one of so he's at the same, his great grandparent was I think also Dennis. He has something like 2%. I have 35%. So it's unusual what one person walks away with. And he's first cousins with the same Kathy. And she also has quite a bit of Irish, and he has this tiny little bit. And yet they're first cousins descended from the same ancestor. And it's just, it's kind of like somebody once explained to me, if you have a deck of cards and there's 52 cards and you're dealt what you're dealt, and you don't always get, the full impact of just goes around
Yeah,
through the gene pool.
Your autosomal, you're getting the half of your chromosomes from your mother, half from your father, but they're different from your siblings. So my brother is primarily, he has more British and I have more Germanic, but we both have the same combinations, just in different amounts. So.
Right, and those could be going along, XX or XY lines. And also that's interesting what you said about the colors, Laura, because when I saw this color scheme, when she sent me the results, I thought, well, that's a really pleasing color palette, but it is very hard to look at because there's like a green, a teal, an aqua, a
Yeah.
light green.
Yeah.
You know, so when you have those small ones in there, I just thought that was strange they picked those colors.
Yeah, but what I did, I went in and I should have brought it in to show, but I went in and labeled the different things so that now when I look at them, I don't pay attention to the colors so much as the labels, and I can compare them that way.
One of the
So-
things that I found when I called Ancestry, that'd be several years ago now when I first did this. And I said, we're getting different results all the time. And they said, well, we keep getting a different base to work off of. And what yours may have been and what somebody subsequent could have been is a different base of ethnicity, whatever. Oh, can't say it today, but
Ethnicity.
ethnicity, okay. And they have a more pure group for one test, and they may not have had that, and they haven't brought them all up to date, and then they get them
Yeah.
all again, and then somebody else jumps into that pool. So that may be
Yeah.
causing it. And that's also the reason they said there's a range a lot of times. You could be, 20% to 28% German or whatever the case may be. And that was what they told me, that was a couple of years ago, but I thought, maybe that's what you're running into.
Right, and also with the Norwegian, I recently attended a conference where they said the Norwegian is most likely over-reported because they're really into it. And Germany is probably the least reported because they are not.
Yeah, I think I heard that too. That's
A lot of it is the research and the data that they have. It's a guesswork thing. The DNA itself is precise, but the interpretation of ethnicity is guesswork. And if you watch what's the name of, oh no, I'm blanking out. The guy who does the Y-DNA, he was the head of the National Geographic Genomic Project. He explains
Oh,
how
yes.
some of that,
Brinkman,
yeah,
I don't know what you mean.
I can't think of
I
it
can
right now.
picture it, but I can't think of it.
But anyway, yeah, it's fascinating and probably most of you have done the autosomal, but there's also the Y-DNA and the mitochondrial DNA. And those don't tell you matches to current matches. What they do is tell you haplogroups, which is where your ancestors came from. And why, in the case of Y, it's the father. And in the case of the mitochondrial, it's the mother's line.
Now, I also did the mitochondrial through family DNA, family searched or family tree.
Yeah.
And that, they do give you matches,
Well,
I
yeah,
mean-
ultimately, usually they do a combination of the autosomal and the Y-DNA. My brother did that one.
Well, mine are designated, this is just mitochondrial.
Okay,
And so those, yeah, it makes it a little bit easier. It's not so easy because that line is just hard for me to research. But at any rate, I actually, when the National Geographic
yeah,
came out,
graphic genomic project.
genomic project, when it was new, I
Yeah.
did the mitochondrial only. That did not give me any matches, but it did give you lots of background.
Yeah,
And then I did Ancestry and Family Tree because at the time Ancestry didn't have just mitochondrial, but Family Tree, I could do that. So we did that. And
Yeah.
so I have a lot of input. But this thing with A. McDonald, part of the problem was that she somehow conveyed to her family, the children and her daughter and the grandchildren, that she was descended from a Scottish family. And she insisted that they spelled McDonald, M-A-C, Donald, and she thought that was a difference, and lots of different things that she made everyone to believe that she was Scottish, and maybe that might be what her understanding was. I don't know.
Most of the Scottish, or many of them, are RMAC, whereby the Irish are MC.
yeah,
And that sometimes when you're reading old documents or something, it'll give you a clue. Oh, hey, if I see MAC, maybe that's the Scottish part.
Right.
But-
Well, and also, when I go back, because this kind of family comes from, oh dear, I'm just having a blank, but, the County Clare in Ireland. And there is an area of Barry McDonald. Am I saying that right? Barry McDonald or some other thing that
Barry?
isn't, what, pardon?
Did you say barony or no, you're talking about?
Not barony, no, Valley, Bally, Bally, Bally McDonald.
Oh, that's a
There is
place.
an area in the area of the county where we find their birth records or their marriage records and a few things like that. And there is this whole swath of area that's labeled Bally McDonald with MAC. It's McDonald again, two double N double ELL at the end. And it seems that the family used that name and that they were somehow related to that general area. And so they did spell it MAC, and possibly in the 1800s, that was an indication of, who you supported during the Jacobean period and things like that. I don't know for sure, but that I can understand that might have been part of what the family was carrying, but at any rate, I've been looking for a Scottish family for a long time.
One of the things you might want to do is look on, if you've done the DNA from Ancestry, I'm finding some interesting things here, because this has just been updated recently. They break down the ethnicity of your DNA comparisons, and then they take you through a timeline in the specific areas where the majority of your family came from.
Yes.
Giving you information about the areas and some hints as to where you might want to go and look at where some of these people had migrated to within not only, in my case, Germany or Norway, but to the United States as well. So it might be something that would help you track that down.
Yeah, and another
Yes.
thing, people doing British DNA might try a company called Living DNA, which is a British company. There are a couple people working in a DNA lab, and they started their own company, and it took a while to get it up and running, but supposedly they do more detail on British ancestry than anybody else. They break it down. So you might look into that if you're really, really interested.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they're just giving you all sorts of stuff.
Well, we've talked quite a bit about
Unbelievable.
DNA and different things, but I wanted to mention a few things really quickly here. I'm thinking of doing a class in the library again on just beginning DNA to see if there's anyone out there who's interested in getting started. And if anyone wants to help me, that'd be great. Tom says he's interested in helping. We'd probably try to keep it somewhat limited so we don't have the room too crowded, but
Did you say I'm beginning DNA or beginning
genealogy,
genealogy?
I meant.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, because I
Sorry.
could help their DNA, I can't.
No, sorry, I meant
Yeah, okay.
genealogy.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Here for.
And also, for those of you in this area in June, there's going to be something called Door County History Days. It's June 20th through 26th. And this involves all the different history groups in the county, the Maritime Museum, and all the societies. And they're going to try to have special discounts and programming and things. And Destination Door County is coming out with a new map that focuses on history, which I think will be really nice.
Oh,
They've been
wow.
working together to get that done. So if anyone's interested in doing anything in that week, I'm trying to plan something, but I
Is it
haven't got
June-
anything.
What were the dates again?
June 20th through 26th.
Okay.
There's a group called the Heritage Alliance of Door County, and they're the people trying to organize this. So anyone interested in that, I'd like to talk to you and see what we could organize. Also, I want to throw this out there. I've been charged with doing an inventory of the Laurie History Room. And it would take a matter of sort of putting everything, classifying everything as missing and then checking in all the books one by one to see what's here and what's really missing. So if anyone would be interested at some point in helping me with that.
I can help. I'll help you.
I help with that too.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be great, because once I have been holding off because it's a big project.
Yeah, it is.
But it's interesting because you wouldn't believe what you can find in that room. All sorts of little, like, as I've told some people, I found a Civil War diary hidden, not hidden, but dropped behind some books in that history room. So there's some fun things in there.
Yeah.
Give you an idea of what's there. I mean, give all of us an idea of what's there.
Yeah,
Well, you know, and I don't have family here. I mean, I have no connection that way, but
I don't either.
Neither do I.
I'm sort of putting together a history. I live at Windermere condos and I've been trying to do research on what the land was like before they built it, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of delving that way. And then also, my late husband used to own Chico Cherry Processing Plant up on Martin and Cherry Road. His basketball, and just kind of,
wow,
just because I'm a history nut and I like to see kind of what it was before and
yeah,
and so on and how it evolved. And there is a connection between someone who owned it and the land all around it by this George Mark Antonio, but I haven't quite, you know. I've
have you
just-
looked at the plat maps and things?
Yeah, but I can't, yeah, I looked at that old one we found at 37 or something.
Yeah, there's
And
certain.
then, but then there was a big gap and I'm actually, of course, what I need is in the gap.
It would be interesting to know, and maybe it's already been done. Interesting, I would find it interesting to know where all the different orchards were in that at one time here.
There's actually, I don't know, it doesn't specify the names of the orchards, but if you go on the Door County web map, they have in the section on, what's the term? Can't.
Aerial view?
No, bad property, damaged
Bad?
property.
Damn.
They
Oh.
outline the orchard specifically because in the old days, they used a spray of arsenic and lead.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And so
okay.
that property
Okay.
is contaminated by that possibly. So they wanted to make sure everyone knew if their property was
And there
an
was,
orchard.
out in
That's what
Svass
they ought to
School, there
look
was
at
so
the
much overlap
Yeah,
and kind of stuff that doesn't,
I thought I read someplace the orchards weren't all that old here. I mean, they weren't back hundreds of years.
No.
No,
something
no.
Like that. This is
No, no.
relatively recent.
there is a book
history.
called Door County, the California of the North.
Ro-
And
okay.
in that book, they're advertising that this is a great place to come, apples and things like
yeah.
that. And I think
It's
it's
just
around
been
then.
fascinating.
That's
too,
around
to
19.
see How
10
the
or something.
changeover and some of the stuff I've already found that, you know, Martin and Reynolds and then Martin had it first and then it came from, then it was, I don't know, in the order, Door County Co-op had also out there and then there was, it had a bunch of different, and not all the plots transferred or in the sale. You know, there'd be 40 acres here and 40 acres there, and it gets to be a nightmare is what it gets to be.
Yeah.
So, but I might be able to find,
Yeah.
you know, while I'm helping organize.
Just like that. the
You never
history
know.
Of the granary is quite interesting.
Yeah,
The family, two families or two guys
Yeah.
that did it.
Told some Brandes.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah.
And I find the quarries
Uh-oh.
interesting too.
Somebody's raising their hand.
Oh,
Yes. Sorry,
Uh-oh, you lost.
Steve?
you did-
Steve,
we don't hear you,
Don't
Steve.
hear you.
put your audio on, Steve.
You had it on.
No,
Do you have a microphone there somewhere?
I don't think he can hear us.
we can't hear a thing you're saying,
There you
Steve.
I don't know what's wrong.
You didn't mute him, did you?
No,
No,
he's
it's not
unmuted
muted.
now.
No?
He's unmuted, but
Must be on his end.
yeah, it's something on his. See, now he was muting and unmuting, but it's not working. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong, because I can see you're muting and unmuting, but we
What's
still
that
don't
little
hear you.
white box next to his name?
Did that help?
Over- There.
Hey.
Okay. What I wanted to say is there's a series I have. There's at least 5 books, Door County Almanac, and it's spelled
Yes.
back with a K. And one of the big topics in that series is Door County orchards.
Oh, I didn't know that,
I didn't know
And
Steve.
you can check those out, of course, here.
Okay,
Or they're
Door
in the
County
history.
Almanac? Okay,
Yeah.
There's like 5 or 6 of them. I forgot who put it out.
yeah.
I know that Fred Johnson from Gibraltar, is he Gibraltar? He helped write some of those.
Yeah, and it goes into the history of why we have orchards here. It has to do with the limestone and the
Oh,
topography.
yeah. I'm more interested in who owned what when.
Yeah.
Well, it might say that because that goes
Yeah,
back
I
a
know.
ways.
There, and he
It's
told
an older
me.
article.
Door
Yeah.
County Almanac by Johnson?
No, it's not by him. They're different colors, pastel
Okay.
colors, pink and yellow and.
There's just treatises or whatever in there about different things like dairying and all
Yeah.
of.
Okay, thanks. Good tip.
Thank you for helping me fix my microphone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I covered most of what I was going to mention. I have been asked to do a program for a genealogy program for the Sons of Norway. So I have no real Norwegian heritage, so I haven't done anything with it. I'll have to sort of brush up on
Give
it.
me a holler.
Well,
I've
Steve,
got-
You have a lot
I've got-
of Norwegian.
Steve, you have a
That's
lot
not
of
till
Norwegian,
October,
don't you?
so-
Oh, okay. I've got. a lot
I'm
of-
what?
Do you have,
Norwegian?
you have Norwegian in your
My
family?
dad was full Norwegian, never went to Norway, but I did. I'm half
Oh,
Yeah,
half
nice.
Norwegian, but their family came out. In the end, they're out of Shiloh, and
what did you hear Laura say? She's gonna do a talk at the Sons of Norway?
but not till October. So I know that the naming conventions are important to understand.
Yeah,
I know they have EN instead of ON.
yeah. You've got then some,
I know that much.
research people, resource.
Yeah.
Pedersen is the son of Peter Petter, so.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really-
One of
I
those.
learned a lot of that stuff already, yeah.
Yeah.
actually, it's sometimes ON also, and it's sometimes
Ian,
Len
Yeah.
or whatever.
There's
'cause ours
Owen,
is-
Eli, yep, Eliason, Owen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Laura,
my-
there's at, in Madison, Wisconsin, there's, at the university, I think it's at the university, but it might be, anyway, it's in Madison. There is a Norwegian archive, and one of the things that they have there is a complete collection of the Bigga books, which are the, it's kind of like very old and into the, back in the day.
Blooming Grove has a lot also. That's where my family settled, the Norwegian part.
I know that,
Outside of Madison, so that's where I grew up, so.
I know
Yeah,
that-
but so, but there's a library there that has that collection, and they're very valuable because the naming, people who came to the States often took the name of the farm that they were from.
Right,
And
exact-
yeah, and so these Bigga books,
How do you spell
give-
that?
well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, if you just say Bigga book or Bigga
I'll look it
booker
up.
or something like that, I don't know if that's a Norwegian name or if it's just the way it's spelled. My husband is half Norwegian family on his side, and so he did some research there, and they basically have the genealogies of all of the families from all of the various areas of Norway.
yeah.
And that's all I know about those, but I'm sure if you just even Googled that, it would lead you to the right source.
I do have a friend who's done a lot of Norwegian, so I've heard little bits and pieces. I just have to start looking into it a little more. But yeah, they've done a lot of, Norwegian genealogy is really a good one because there is so much documentation.
Mhm.
Right,
Right.
that, I was gonna add, and that is true with the Swedes as well.
Yeah,
Probably if you're going to talk to, whoever comes to the meeting in October, you might want to advise or just mention that they shouldn't get too frustrated with trying to research Norwegians or Swedes because the names are just very, very confusing. It's very difficult, very, very difficult.
If you can find the farm they came from, these are big, like 200 people. They're commune. That they can probably do the research even though the last name changed.
Stock market was down.
Yeah, well, I have till October to worry about that, so thank you for the suggestions.
I don't even.
Yeah.
Don't look at it.
Anyone have anything else to mention? We're 1 hour in now, so
I do.
yes.
I just found, or they just on one of my Facebook genealogy groups, they indicated that there is now an index for Castle Garden, which was the arrival point in the United States prior to Ellis Island,
Mhm.
1820-ish to 1892, till when Ellis. Anyway, there's a database on there that you can now search. And it's just simply HTTP and then castlegarden.org.
That's not a Steve Marsh or
No, it's not Steve Morse.
Morris.
No, I don't believe so. It's just, I don't know. I'd have to open it up again.
Okay.
We'll
that's
have
okay.
another look at that one.
But yeah, funded by the Battery Conservancy, 1820 to
Battery in New
1892,
York.
blah, blah,
They call
blah,
that
blah.
Battery area.
and so on and so forth. And the other interesting thing that I keep trying to point to some people who ask me, oh, they changed my name when we arrived.
Yeah.
No, the manifests were written out prior to departure from the foreign country that they started at. So your ancestor didn't, Ellis Island did not change their names. It was whatever was written on the manifest by the ship's captain before they left the foreign country to come to the States. And
But then some of them chose to. change.
oh, yeah, some people
Oh, yeah, they
chose
changed
to,
it,
yeah, Americanize their name or change it. But Ellis Island,
Yeah.
don't
did-
blame them.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that if you came over here and you couldn't get in because of health or something,
Mhm,
the company that you shipped on had to take you back.
yes,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Had to
Wow.
take you. Really?
I read
So
that
they
somewhere,
had,
yeah.
so
That's
they had
quite
a
a-
vested interest in making sure you could get into the country.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that. Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I happen to have a school book from, I don't know when, it would be around 1900 or earlier. And it's the family, it was my grandfather's family, and he was the youngest of 10 kids. And in the front, one of the oldest brother wrote his name with an O-N, and at the back, he wrote his name with an A-N on
Ah.
that. So the same family, and they were
Yeah.
changing, and they have continued that.
Really? Are
So
you
the-
sure it's an A? Because
Yes.
sometimes if you don't,
No, that's what my maiden name is. And then there are those with the O-N still in South
oh, okay,
Dakota. So they continued that, but it's kind of fun to have it in one book.
yeah, it is, it is. And I found too, my father's side of the family was Gray, Gray, which sometimes is written Grey, but that's the way the Brits, the English spell it, and the Scottish spell it AY.
Yeah,
And so, I don't know if whoever, he was signing up for something, and he gave his name as William Gray. They might have written it down as EY, so of course,
Yeah.
like most people, you have to look at various spellings.
so we
Yeah.
covered a lot of ground today, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you for your
I
help.
guess we'll be a month from now,
Okay, good, good.
and we'll do this hybrid
Yeah.
Zoom and in person again. I think it worked pretty well.
Uh-huh.
I like-
Well, it's nice to see everybody
That's
again.
what
I
I
like
like,
that,
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
personal contact, yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
have anything you want to
Yeah.
cover, let me know.
yeah. Yeah, Door County's a beautiful place in the summer.
Yeah.
Come visit.
Good place to
Yeah.
visit.
Yeah.
All the way from, what'd you say? Let's see. South Carolina-
Seattle,
Seattle and South
North
Carolina.
North
right?
Carolina.
North
Yeah,
Carolina.
I intend to come, but it won't be this summer. So
Oh,
another year.
yeah, well, Summer is going to be here.
Yeah.
But
We
then-
finally got our
It's a little
spring.
chilly still.
Next year, we'll probably have another beer, another liquor fest of some kind.
Yeah.
Well, that
There might
seems-
be one.
it seems like-
Actually, my
Yeah.
husband and I try to not leave the Northwest in the summer because this is the place to be in the summer. It doesn't get hot
My
unless
brother's
it
in
does.
Seattle and
Sometimes
he
it does.
comes here. My brother's in Seattle and he comes here every year in the summer because he loves Door County, because he grew up here.
You know, we
But
talk
he
about
loves Seattle
traveling and we
too.
don't want to go here or there all the time. And you were talking about Norway. I found that our Norway relatives, they went back and forth all the time after they came here.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
more
just
than
blew
you
my
think.
mind. That's an arduous
than you
trip
think.
back in the 1850s and
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
Because kids were born over there.
They wanna
And
go
then the
back
next
and-
kid was born in the US. And
Yeah, yeah,
I can't believe they did that trip.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
makes it hard to
So
follow.
we think we have a tough time.
they were tough, yeah. Well, thank you again. See
Thank you,
next-
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye.
That always amazes me.